Well, this week I have a student coming over from North Carolina, I believe, for the week. She saw my films here on the internet, on YouTube, and has very much enjoyed them, which is a great pleasure for me. So much so that whilst she's over and down south at Bath, she's going to come up here for about 4 or 5 days, spend some time, wants to see me painting, wants to go through various different techniques and materials, and maybe even paint on plein air with me down here. As you can hear outside at the moment, though, the weather's absolutely abysmal, so I don't throw too much hope at plein air. We'll have to see how the weather goes. But I've got plenty planned for indoors. And talking about that, I've got this one I just showed you on the left here, the York scene. I've got a nice big piece of pastel paper prepared there, another canvas behind me for doing a textural work. I've got a whole series planned. For instance, the York one, as I was saying. And then I've got this rather nice one, the composite, which I've just made up this morning, because I fancy doing a textural one again. And I'm going to put together a few of the pieces I've done from the past, in fact. Floating figures, the kingfishers. It's a very marine one, and we're going to play with the textures on the fish and some of the feathers on the kingfishers and the birds, the foam and so on. Really build this one up and get some beautiful colours going. About time I did a textural one again, just for my own benefit, for fun, which is what the painting is about at the moment. There's nothing selling, so I might as well enjoy myself. And the pastel that I was telling you about, I want to do a lovely big Scottish scene, Glen scene. This is going to be a traditional pastel this time, although I am going to continue on with that and do some water and pastel as well. In this case it will be the traditional blocking and blending. Moving on from that, then I want to do some water and pastel as well, which I might well do with that one. I haven't decided what I'm doing with that one quite yet, or whether I'm even going to work with acrylics on the paper. This one though, I want to do a very large watercolour. We've done some large loose one, a snow scene with the snow leopard, and we've done a large loose street scene. I want to do a more traditional landscape there, using the masking fluids and various textures. It's a beautiful luminescent landscape. Again, I'm considering water and pastel for that one. This French scene with the CV in it. I think we're a lovely watercolour, that one, with the light against the darks and the lady going down the middle there. So we'll do a watercolour. Painting knife, maybe that one. Really bright scene, slabbing the paint on with a 20-30, perhaps not too big a canvas. I'd like to try a nice, strong, bold watercolour with the deeper paints, the darker paints, the Russian paints with that one. So plenty of ideas here we can use, all the different techniques. Haven't quite decided how I'm doing this one yet, but probably the acrylics and brushwork again. The market scene there, I need to get a square canvas, I forgot the other day. And maybe a more traditional watercolour again on that one. We'll see. But anyway, I've got plenty there to work from, it's just deciding. And of course, if I want to do a nice big loose one again, as I've just been doing, using heavy brushwork, using the knives combined, then that one will do. So, where are we going to start? Well, I think I'm actually going to start by just drawing out today the composite, the textural one, because that's what I want to get into next. Can't do much more until my student arrives, because she'll want to see how things are done. So I'm going to do a series of films now then, showing these various different techniques and methods, as in my series, the best mediums and methods for the subject. So we've got different subjects here, and each method and technique suits those subjects perhaps best, or will be best to enhance them. So what we'll do first then is remove this canvas, which is ready for later, and got a new one. And we'll just sketch out where all these shapes and textures are going to go. Just mark out the positions at the moment. And there is going to be this one. And what I'll do to do that is just mark the quarters and eighths first, and then just get the basic shapes of where things are going to go. Right, let's work out the composition of that. That needs building up later. I think I'll now take a light pastel and chalk, or just draw out that composition of the pastel landscape. Prepare a few beforehand. Right, this landscape this time then, and I'm going to mark it off the same, my quarters, halves and eighths, just so I know where things are going. The scale is slightly different because the paper's slightly squarer. I couldn't go any larger, I wanted to, but for the board I've got a large enough drawing board for larger paper. There don't be many this size. Right then, here we go. So we've got this paper marked with this, and that hill there comes in here. I'm just going to discuss how I do my drawing as well. Bottom of this hill is just about in line with halfway here and finishes about an eighth of the way in, so 1/4 eighth, so about here. So we've got this hill coming down, lovely shape, all the way, a nice curve to about there. This base plane here is about a third, that's just under a third. If I go into thirds there, and it's going to be in between that and a half, somewhere here, that's the base plane going on there. Nice composition. Coming from here, there's a gentle hill that comes down. And the centre of the picture is about here as well, so we're not far out on that. And let's look at this here, that beautiful line there that comes down, just gently curls all the way into here, and we've got a plane coming in there. This mountain comes behind, soft clouds and things. We did this recently with watercolour. Now we're going to see how to do these softer clouds with pastel here. Now we're going to get this mountain, and that one, it's almost halfway up here, so if I come across there, I shouldn't be far off there. Where does it finish here? Well, we've got to come up from here, haven't we, anyway? So if I come up, that's my angle there. Right, there's our basic structure. Again, on the quarter here, just above it, comes down where these flowers come. Where do they come from? Here on the quarter mark there. So you can see how I'm doing the drawing, just so I'm working it out according to the quarters. And only roughly, we're not going to be exact, you don't need to be photographic with it. Round behind. Now I've got to find these. There's this lovely curve going on here I want to find. You can see we've almost got our composition now. Things are going to go. Traditional way of working then, just working out our midtones, our light, drawing on here. Then we're going to work up the underpainting by rubbing, scrubbing, blocking and then blending, and then we work the fresh colour on top finally without touching it further so as not to destroy it, keep it nice and bright and clean. And that will be the traditional way of blocking and blending. Right, those bunch of flowers come down literally below that lump there, so down here. And then the actual composition of the clouds in the sky is rather nice on this one. I want to really push the colours on this when I come to it. We'll just work out where these clouds are coming for the moment. Just so I know where my colours are going to go. I'll work this in very quickly. I mean, I'm working now as quick as I would if I was actually doing the landscape on plein air. There we go, that's ready to draw. Well, Beverly has now arrived. Hello Beverly.
Hello.
Arrived last night, we had a little drink together. She's come in disgusting English weather, so if she manages in this and enjoys this, she'll manage anything. We both agree that we prefer sunshine in winter, don't we?
Yes, yes.
So we might get some holidays away together, and it's lovely to have one of my subscribers or viewers from YouTube actually face to face here and joining in with me. It's been so nice that she's enjoyed my films and now actually want to come and join me here and do a bit of artwork. So really it's a sort of small masterclass, I suppose. I'm going to be painting what I want to do, and at the same time Beverly is going to be doing following along. So we're going to start with this pastel of Scottish scene, one of these glens, and it's a straightforward traditional English pastel where we do the blocking and blending. So what I'm going to do straight away is show you on a piece of paper here just what happens with that effect. And the thing is with pastel, that pastel, like watercolour, is fine pigment bound together with gum arabic, and it therefore will melt with water. So you've seen we've already been using it with water in previous films, we might even in some of these, but it's slightly coarser than watercolour, so it will be less luminous, it will be less transparent. Now the thing with blocking and blending is, and it's the same with fixative, I don't use fixative because fixative takes the bright tones down a couple of tones, they're not very nice. I find that when I'm using water with pastel, the first coats are fixed anyway, so the succeeding coats don't come off very well. But normally when I'm using pastel, the ways I'm going to show you, even the traditional way, providing you bash your painting well off at the end and you make sure that it's either hung or stored on its back, never face downwards, the chances of a little pastel coming are very small. You might get a small amount along the bottom edge, but it doesn't come away very much, and it's better not to fix them if you can help it, because it does cut the tones down. Now this technique of blocking and blending, when you blend pastel, when you rub pastel, it makes it dead. It crushes those little crystals. And pastel works by light reflecting on the little crystals' colours. So if we put fresh pastel on, it's nice and bright. So what I'm going to show you here is just the difference when we blended a pastel and then putting fresh pastel over the top, just so you can see immediately the difference in colours. So we can blend the first coats, but any final coats want to be untouched, just a little scumbling here and there, whatever. And we've got various terms like feathering and scumbling and so on that we'll try to talk about as we go. So let's first of all take a close look at this, which is a Canson paper, and just what happens when we blend these pastels before we actually start. So just watching this then, Beverly, we're going to use a deeper pastel first. Now this is the fresh pastel. You can see how lovely and bright that is. But if I rub it, it dulls down immediately. We can leave the paper glowing through like that. So you've got an undercolour. Now this is useful if you're doing a technique like constables where you want the browns to show through. So for with pastel, that all papers change colour, even the best of them, will eventually go lighter with light. So I prefer to use either paint underneath or rub pastel in to give my colour. So that's the first point. Right, so we've rubbed that colour in there. If we put the same colour over the top, you can see how it goes brighter, slightly brighter in that area. And the same if we're using brighter colours over that. If I put a brighter colour into that, then it's nice and bright and clean. If I blend it, it kills it immediately. So I would want to come back over that. Now scumbling is where we just bring the pastel over the surface, letting the undercolour glow through. So that way we can get a colour that won't go brighter later and bleach out. We can let the pastel glow through and hopefully the pastels will remain. We have actually tested even these Unison pastels, and in bright sunlight even they fade slightly. So you don't want to have pictures in bright sunlight, but that's scumbling. Feathering is short strokes like this, and you cross hatch by cross feathering across. So we've got several techniques we're going to use there with the texturing, the same way as dots and dashes. So if I wanted to have clean pure pastel over this and my final coats of leaves, then you can see how brightly I can go on top by a clean colour at the end, and there you've got the blocking and the blending and the finishing coats over the top, and that's what we're just about to do. So that's your first basics in the blocking and blending method. The first thing I've got to do is get Beverly to catch up with me and just get her basic drawing done. We've taken a look at the earlier part of this video already, and I've shown her how we can use the quarters and eighths on the paper here to start off finding where things come. So we've got the halfway point here, and then that mountain comes down to that halfway point there. So you've got your pastels here, your photograph there, and you've got your drawing. There's plenty of drawing there. That's just ready to make a start. It's only a few minutes, so I already see that your abilities are quite good, and I think you'll manage to keep up with me. Unfortunately, we've got the rain in the background again, which I know one of my students actually likes, but some of you might find it a bit of a nuisance. We don't want to put radio mics and everything up today.
So usually I start with the horizon area. The reason I do that, Beverly, is because the horizon is usually the mid-tones. I'm going to work up all of my mid-tones here and go downwards to the darks. Right, that's my blocking and blending just done in that bit. I'm going to carry on down and start blocking in the blues and so on down here. I'm just building up these by blending one to another. Yeah, you're blending where you need. I mean, if you feel that something is right, you leave it alone, but if it's not quite, then you just blend it in by blending the scumble in a fraction. Now, what I was saying about not going too dark, because we're going to go darker, lighter onto it, if I now come back with some lighter creams, I actually take some very light cream and start to put that in with these little lights shining around the edges of them. And lighter still, as I say, I come back to that very light, almost white. Are you ready there? Ready for the mountains?
I think so.
Look at that green dust to the sky here, you see. I mean, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pulling out those turquoises. Yeah. Right down into here.
Okay, let's see.
Right, then into that, I can start to with this soft blue. Again, I can do my shading behind there as well when I'm at it. Now you see how I can go quite hard edged, if that's the soft. Now putting fresh pastel on, I can come in with these lovely deep darks. I can just feather and blend softly, or I can go, so I can blend it like that, or I can come in harder like that. And blocking and then blending in to give my underpainting. The dominant colour I think here for me is this deeper mid green, which is rather fun.
That was a getting to learn.
You're
getting
coming
to
on.
know. I also talk to myself.
That's good.
While I work.
Yeah, well, I do all the time. I do in life actually. Yeah. I get a better conversation that way normally as well. As I say, you can't see wood for trees, but once you've got the blocking and blending done, you can start to see how your colours really are. And we can get the feeling of a lot of texture and detail in the foreground here by, again, the blocking and blending method. It's a technique that I use quite a bit with acrylics as well, where I put dark blocks of background in and start to texture up. Then for the final lighter colours we have to really twist and push the pastel to get pure colour achieved. It's these last highlights that just finish things off now, because that's what we're working on now. Well, for me, I'm about there on that one, I think. Let's see how you're doing. And there we are, the effects of light, clouds, into the sky.
I was trying to dampen down these with a little blue.
Yeah,
and
a lovely sky. Well, there we are. Beverly's just finishing off hers now, and I think I've gone as far as I'm going to go with this one. So we'll just capture Beverly in a moment with hers. She's done really well. And then, as I've only a couple of hours work, so it shows how rapid this technique is. We're going to move on to doing a big acrylic in the rollers. Beverly's finished that, and for a first go at that method, very good, beautiful colours, nice light. I hope she's happy. Are you happy, Beverly?
Yes, yes. I'm very pleased with it.
Good. Well, we'll move on then.
Sorry.
Well done. That's the first one here. And it's only taken us a couple of hours, so it's very rapid, isn't it? Okay, we're going to go on to doing this montage of photographs because I want to get the thing dry so that I can start painting before Beverly goes back. So we'll just have a look today. I think it's great fun watching this. You can give me a hand putting things on and mixing up if she wants as well. Mixing up all these textures. I've got rice, I've got beans, I've got spaghetti, I've got pasta, I've got filler, fine household interior filler, PVA glue, tissue paper, wool, to make all these various textures that I want. And of course with the filler I can make textures anyway. So we're going to go on from this and then work onto this piece here. Okay, I've already drawn this one out. There's the picture. What I want to do is enhance these textures for the various objects on here onto here, so they build up no more normally than about an inch, half an inch high. I've got a fork for making the paste, for manoeuvring the paste about. I've got wool, I've got all these other textures, painting knives as well. And I want to look at how I can make scales on the fish. I might need some scissors yet actually as well, so I can make card scales and things. I'm going to see how we can build these textures up very fast, very loosely. And once they're dry, I shall then start to paint in light colours where I want really luminous colours, and black emulsion, and then light over the top of those afterwards. And it can be very, very effective, and it's great fun. To start off with, I'm going to use a mixture of household filler and PVA glue. The reason I'm using the glue is to make it more plastic, more flexible. The filler on its own would be dry and split and might come away. But mix some glue with it as well and it becomes more plastic, and it will adhere to the canvas and be a little bit more, as I say, flexible. And I can manoeuvre it around. I've got about half an hour before it dries, so plenty of time. I should pour in a load of filler here, a little bit of glue, and then add water gradually until I'm ready. I've got to mix it by hand, and then I can ladle it on where I want it. So, plenty of the filler to start with. And then, in this case I've got some industrial PVA, but ordinary white PVA is fine as well. It doesn't take too much PVA, just enough to give it some plasticity. Okay, some of the trick is in the mixing. It doesn't want to be too thin, or it's just like liquid. It won't be able to control it at all, and too thick and it's too dry. So about that sort of consistency. And you can use your tools or you can use your fingers. In this case I want a nice swirling sky, so what I'm going to do is probably cover my lemon plant, just come up to my sky here and give it a thin coat with my hand straight off. Everything's going to have a texture somewhere, except maybe around these figures. I'm not sure whether I'm going to build those yet. I might just paint those. So we'll get as I'm putting it on, I'm actually building the feathers as I go along. So there's the tail now. Oh, different texture in here, so I'm going to have to play with these textures a lot more. But I bet you're reaching to get your hands into this, aren't you? It's great fun.
Yeah, it's like being a child and getting to play in mud.
Yeah, it is. It's finger painting. But it's so direct, and you're actually, rather than using a brush here, we're actually modelling our paint onto here in a way. The canvas here, to smooth the canvas and actually paint these on. I'm not going to build them up this time, which I did last time. So we'll put just a little bit of texturing down here. Textures on the fish, so I want rough next to smooth, light next to dark. So I'm going to go deliberately fairly smooth here, so I can build this fish up into textures in a moment. Be very quick this one. I mean, we might get on to starting the other painting this afternoon as well. So now, we finish one, we'll start this one. Right, now, fork. Yes. And we'll look at these little bird's feathers here. So I can layer textures over this as well. But we can get, this is this area here. So something quite different than you expected to do, I'll see today. You can build these shapes up, you can cut polystyrene shapes and stick them on. I mean, the world's your oyster in how you do this. Don't be limited by what I'm showing you here. Let's just give you an idea. I want to build this crab up down here now. That texture I'm going to put on here, the weed and stuff, later. But I want to get this big old crab built up so the texture can go over him later. So his legs coming back there, back of him comes around here, his claw comes out here. Play with that a bit later, but let's get the basics up. And we'll put some texturing on there. So I've wet my painting knife. You know the difference between a painting and a palette knife, do you?
No.
Right, the painting knife has that bevel on it, so your fingers don't touch.
Cut.
Palette knife comes straight out.
Ah, okay. I just never thought about it.
People get that mixed up. I've been having another discussion with somebody. No, you weren't.
Yes, I was when you were doing the,
Oh,
the
yeah,
fish
they
over
say
there.
now, yeah, now I've done it. Yeah, that's typical, yeah.
One thing
You
leads to
always say
another.
afterwards, oh no, you want to watch that.
One thing leads to another. You do a little bit here and you kind of have to move over there.
Yeah.
And,
So, basic textures. Now, I want to get these fish scales before I start doing anything else. I'll take these out of the way and wash these in a moment. They stick down to it. So you see it's drying off already.
very good job.
Not quite as I intended, because they should be going outwards, not inwards.
Yeah.
They should really be going in the direction like that.
I guess this would satisfy your urge to sculpt a little and maybe, you know,
Well, I miss pottery.
I was going to say, since you were a potter before, this gives you a chance to sort of...
It's my own personal interview, is it?
Yeah. I'll be quiet.
That's all right. No, you can carry on.
No, but I'm just thinking for someone who doesn't have a wheel or a kiln or something like
Anymore,
that,
yes,
you can really enjoy the putting your hands in it and creating the shapes and textures.
Oh, shall I? Now I'm going to start with some wool. I need some scissors for that though, so I'll just go and wash my tools. Right, I'm going to take a load of wool. I've got water in there already, and I want to start making the seaweeds and stuff that are swirling around down here. So I'm going to chop off lengths of wool into the water. It doesn't take an awful lot of glue. The more glue you use for something, it's the better in a way, because you can solid. So don't be stuck by the photograph again. If you're going to experiment and explore, do that. Don't be stuck by things. These little bobbles of foam with some slightly larger bits as well, which are handy. A bit of rice now. Bits of texture here and there in between the other textures, just to help make it up. Right, well now we can see the textures that have been done. Right down to the crab here and all the weed around it. And how we build up the fish there with the scales. So you could add paper and so on and actually build the scales up. Foam, mackerel. And hopefully when we come to paint this, it'll be very effective. That was interesting, wasn't it?
Very interesting.
Right, we finished that one there on the texturing side, ready for the painting. Now, same day, let's go straight on to this one with the rollers and have some fun with this one in New York. Now the thing with this one is that the photograph in some ways is a little bit dour and a little bit boring, although it's a wet day, especially this area here. So I want to push the colours and push the atmosphere a lot more. I'm going to start with sponge rollers on this, work with the medium tones and then work some lights around it, I think. So as usual, we've got my paints here, 2 sets of acrylics. Might have to put a bit more white out in a moment, but otherwise I think there's enough paint to go on from there. I want to start very atmospheric with not the sky, but I want to cut into the buildings a bit. So I want to start with actually the buildings. I'm going to make a nice mid blue-grey roller there. So I'm not too worried about details at the moment. I just want to get these, wherever these colours are, I want to get them in now. I'm going to explore with them. I'm not just going to paint them straight off the photograph by any means. I'm going to explore with these colours. Now I can mix colours into each other, providing those colours are part of the mix, or they're slightly lighter. So I'm really pushing colour here now. Not the colours you'd expect to see here. Just starting to draw into things as well. And again, we're giving an impression, we aren't copying. Right, I want to have a very light orange over this now. Of course, red and green are the opposites in the colour circle. So I was hoping that if I can make a light enough orange, it will really glow over that green. And I can use a bit of very light yellow later over it as well. And we'll see what sort of effect we can get, shall we? Right, I want to clean again, and I'm going to do my very pale yellow to really bring out this sky and make these darks darker. I'll show you something out. Right, we're going to start doing some very light cream now, so I'm using lemon yellow and white. It's still fairly wet. And it's for fun too. I mean, your painting should be for fun, but you know, I enjoy it far more when I'm able to push colours like this and really enjoy myself. Interesting, isn't it? That just sort of suddenly takes shape, you know?
Absolutely. It's amazing.
I'm deliberately being very loose, really loose, just to show you just how loosely you can produce something like this. So I'm going to come in with my brush for a little bit now, just for the fun, and get some of these colours filled. And then I'm going to come back to the roller afterwards. I just love the creaminess of paint, so it's just nice to just slap it on sometimes like this and totally enjoy myself. I probably shan't do a lot more tonight now, because I've worked pretty hard today, and I think I've almost come to saturation point on this. You can see how by working loosely I can go back into it with brushes and pull it out. At the moment I'm not even that bothered if the colours are entirely right, as long as I can get rid of the white to see wood for trees. Right, so I've got rid of my white now. I'll probably leave it now till tomorrow to carry on, because I'm pretty tired, and I think it's just a bit of a rest. Right, so that's it for the day today, the first day here for Bev. And tell us all about it, Bev.
It was fascinating. I learned so much. I can't believe I've done all this in one day. Pastel, texturing, roller painting is just marvelous.